Good evening, friends. Pinotuni. Welcome to our online broadcast of our evening worship, Buddha Vandana, chanting and meditation. So today is Thursday when we hold our weekly mindfulness meditation practice. So as you know, we go live simply to support you, your religious observance or practice every evening. While we share our practice, you can also join and participate, not just to accumulate merit, but also to develop peace of mind, especially during this pandemic or time of difficulty. Engaging in religious worship or religious activity can take you away from your regular duties, but so that you also can develop or maintain some peace of mind. So thank you for joining us. We always begin our worship with observing 5 precepts, and after worship we listen to chanting Ratana Sutta in this case, which we chant every day, and then we will meditate. So to begin our worship, let us observe 5 precepts. Say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Kāmesu miccācārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Suramēraya majjapamādaṭṭhāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammang sādhukang surakkhitāṃ kattvā appamādena sampādē tabbang. Okay, so let's worship the Buddha together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi sattha deva manussanang buddho bhagavati. Buddhaṃ jīvita paryantaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Ye ca buddhā atitā ca ye ca buddhā anāgatā. Paccapannā ca ye buddhā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saranang aññaṃ Buddho me saranang varam etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalam uttamangena vandeham padapam suvaruttamam buddheyo kalito doso buddho kamatu tang mamam. Swakkhāto bhagavata dhammo sandittiko akāliko ehi passiko opanayiko paccattaṃ veditabbo viññuhīti. Dhammaṃ jīvita paryantaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Ye ca dhamma atitā ca ye ca dhamma anāgatā. Paccapannā ca ye dhamma ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saranang aññaṃ dhammo me saranang varaṃ etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalam. Uttamangena vandeham dhammaṃ ca tividhaṃ varam. Dhammeyo khalito doso dhammo khamatu taṃ mamam. Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Ujjapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Ñāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Sāmīcipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Yadidaṃ cattāri purisa yugāni Aṭṭha purisa puggalā Esa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Āhuneyo pāhuneyo dakhineyo Anjali karaniyo Anuttaraṃ puññakkhetaṃ lokassāti. Saṅgaṃ jīvita paryantaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Ye ca saṅghā atitā ca ye ca saṅghā anāgatā. Paccapannā ca ye saṅghā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saranang aññaṃ saṅgho me saranang varam. Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalam. Uttamangena vandeham සංඝං චේති විදෝත්තමං සංඝේයෝ කලිතෝ දෝසෝ සංඝෝ කමතු තං මමං ඝනසාරප්පදිත්තේන දීපේන තමදං සිනා තිලෝක දීපං සම්බුද්ධං පූජයාමි තමෝනුදං වන්නගන්ධේ ගුණෝපේතං ඒතං කුසුම සන්තතින් පූජයාමි මුනින්දස්ස සිරිපාද සරෝරුහේ පූජේමි බුද්ධං කුසුමේන නේන පුඤ්ඤේන මේතේ නච හෝතු මොක්ඛං පුප්පං මිලායාති යතායි ධම්මේ කායෝ තථායාති විනාශ භාවං අධිවාසේතු නෝ භන්තේ පානීයං පරිකප්පිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්හාතු උත්තමේ අධිවාසේතු නෝ භන්තේ ගිලාන පච්චයං ඉමං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්හාතු උත්තමේ අධිවාසේතු නෝ භන්තේ සබ්බං සද්ධාය පූජිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්හාතු උත්තමේ වන්දාමි චේතියං සබ්බං සබ්බඨානි සුපටිට්ඨිතං සාරීරික ධාතු මහා බෝධින් බුද්ධ රූපං සකලං සදා යස්ස මූලේ නිසින්නෝව සබ්බාරි විජයං අකා පතෝ සබ්බඤ්ඤතං සත්තා වන්දේ තං බෝධිපාදපං ඉමේ ඒතේ මහා බෝධි ලෝකනාතේන පූජිතා අහම්පිතේ නමස්සාමි බෝධිරාජා නමත්තුතේ කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමමි භන්තේ පුරි පඤ්ඤේ තථාගත කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමමි ධම්ම සන්දිට්ඨික අකාලික කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමමි සංඝ සුපටිපන්න අනුත්තර එතාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්භතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ දේවා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා එතාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්භතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ භූතා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා එතාවතාච අම්හෙහි සම්භතං පුඤ්ඤ සම්පදං සබ්බේ සත්තා අනුමෝදන්තු සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සිද්ධියා ඉදම්මේ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදම්මේ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදම්මේ ඥාතිනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බානපත්තියා ඉදම්මේ පුඤ්ඤං ආසවක්ඛයා වහං හෝතු සම්බ දුක්ඛා පමුංචතු සාදු 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 So that is the end of our Buddha Vandana evening worship here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. So now we are going to chant Paritta Sutta, Ratana Sutta as usual, to bless you with good health and happiness, especially during this time of pandemic or time of difficulty. May you all stay safe, may you be blessed by the Noble Triple Gem. May the blessings of the Buddha, may the compassion of the Buddha be upon you for your well-being, good health, and also if you are ill, speedy recovery, and also enjoy good health thereafter. So from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center, we bless you with good health and happiness for your safety. May you stay safe, may you be blessed by the Noble Triple Gem. You as an online community, be happy and peaceful, and especially during this lockdown pandemic time. May you enjoy good health, and may you have the courage and determination to face every difficulty and every discomfort or even every inconvenience. So with those kind and righteous intention, we chant, and if you are able to, you can also join me in chanting. If you want to bear anyone in your minds, if someone is ill, bear them in your thoughts, wishing them speedy recovery and good health. And as always, we dedicate this to all the key workers working tirelessly to look after the nation. May all key workers, including the NHS staff, doctors and nurses, also enjoy good health and happiness. May they also develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services to the nation, looking after patients and their families. So we begin our chanting, which is in Pali language. Please listen to the chanting with great attention and respect. Samanta Cakkavalesu Atra Gacchantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mukkadang Paritta Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Paritta Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Paritta Dhamma Kalu Ayang Bhadanta Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa Yani bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vayantalikhe sabbeva bhuta sumana bhavantu atopi sakkacca sunantu bhasitam tasmahi bhutani samita sabbe mettam karota manusiya pajaya Divacaratto caharanti baling tasmahini rakkata appamatta Yang kinci vittang idhvahurang vasagyesu vayang ratanang panitang Nano samang attitathāgatena idampi buddhe ratanang panitang Etena saccena suvatti hotu Kayang viragang amatang panitang yadajjaga sakya muni samahito Natena dhammena samatti kinci idampi dhamme ratanang panitang Etena saccena suvatti hotu Yang buddha settho parivannai sucing samadhimanantarikanyamahu Samadhinatena samone vijjati idampi dhamme ratranang panitang ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු ये පුග්ගලා අට්ඨ සතං පසත්තා චත්තාරි ඒතානි යුගානි හොන්ති තේ දක්ඛිනේයා සුගතස්ස ශාවකා ඒතේසු දින්නානි මහප්ඵලානි ඉදම්පි සංඝේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු येसुप्पयुत्ता मनसा दल्हेन निक्कामिनो गौतम शासनं हि ते पत्तिपत्ता अमृतं विगैः लब्धा मुधा निभृतिं भुञ्जमाना इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु यथिन्दखीलो पठविंसितो सिया चतुर्भिवातेभिः सम्पकम्पियो तथोपमं सत्पुरुषं वदामि यो आर्यसत्यानि अवेच्च पश्यति इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु ये आर्य सच्चानि विभावयन्ति गम्भीरपञ्चेन सुदेशितानि किञ्चापि ते हन्ति भुसप्पमत्ता न ते भवन् अट्ठमम् आदियन्ति इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु सहावस्स दर्शन संपदाय तयस्सु धम्मा जहिता भवन्ति सक्काय दिट्ठि विचिकित्सितं च सीलब्धं वापि यदत्ति किञ्चि चतुःपाये च विप्पमुत्तो च चाबिठानानि अभव्वो कातुम् इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु किञ्चापि शोकं मं करोति पापकं कायेन वाचा उदचेतसा वा अभव्वोऽसो तस्य पटिच्छादाय अभव्यता दिट्ठपदस्य वुत्ता इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु वनप्पगुम्बे यथा पुष्सितज्ञे गिम्हानमासे पठमस्मिन् गिम्हे तथोपमं धम्मवरं अदेशयि निब्बानगामिं परमं हिताय इदम्पि बुद्धे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु वरो वरन्यो वरदो वराहरो अनुत्तरो धम्मवरं अदेशयि इदम्पि बुद्धे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु खीनं पुराणं नवं नत्ति सम्भवं विरक्त चित्ता आयतिके भवस्मिन् ते खीन बीजा अविरुल्हिच्छन्दा निब्बन्ति धीरा यथायं प्रदीपो इदम्पि संघे रत्नं पनीतं एतेन सच्चेन सुवत्ति होतु यानि भूतानि समागतानि ब्रह्माणि वा यानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुष्यपूजितं बुद्धं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु यानि भूतानि समागतानि ब्रह्माणि वा यानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुष्यपूजितं धम्मं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु यानि भूतानि समागतानि ब्रह्माणि वा यानि वयन्तलिखे तथागतं देवमनुष्यपूजितं संघं नमस्साम सुवत्ति होतु Etena sacca vajjena dukkha upasamentu te. Etena sacca vajjena bhaya upasamentu te. Etena sacca vajjena roga upasamentu te. Sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena Buddha ratanang dhamma ratanang sangha ratanang tinnang ratananang anubhavena Chaturasiti sahassa dhammakandhanubhavena pitakattayanubhavena Jinasavakanubhavena sabbe te roga sabbe te bhaya sabbe te antaraya sabbe te upaddava sabbe te dunnimitta sabbe te avamangala vinassantu ayuvaddhako dhanavaddhako sirivaddhako yasavaddhako Balavaddhako vannavaddhako sukhavadhako hotu sabbada Dukkha roga bhaya vera soka sabbe paddava Aneka antaraya pi vinassantu ca tejasa Jaya siddhi dhanang labhang sotti bhagyang sukhang balang Siriyayu ca vanno ca bhogang buddhi ca yasava Satavassa ca ayu ca jiva siddhi bhavantu te Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu loka sasanang Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu dhamma desanang Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu mang paranti Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu So that is the end of our worship and chanting this evening. So every day we do meditation on loving kindness after chanting. Today is our weekly session on developing or practicing mindfulness meditation. So from now onwards we are going to do that. Before we start that, as we go live every day, every evening at 7 o'clock, you can join us every day, and if you want to sponsor and dedicate to someone or someone who you care, or even someone who may have passed away, you can dedicate them, and so that we can share our merit. So it is just an opportunity to participate while we also engage in our religious observance that we share online every day at 7 o'clock. Okay, so now from here onwards it will be about practicing meditation. So it is quite different from the meditation that we have been doing on loving kindness. So every Thursday we share, or we support, or even take this session as a top-up session or even a refresh session, because I do not have an audience that I can speak to. It is a very generalized version, so that everyone, beginners or even practitioners or even advanced practitioners, can make use of this session. So this is just some supportive mechanism so that you can continue your meditation practice at home. So last week we focused on perhaps how to maintain or understand how mindfulness works. So last session we visited the fact that some people might just not want to or not turn into meditation thinking that they cannot focus or their mind cannot settle down. So remember, I said that there are many types of meditation, and the type of meditation which is mindfulness is about being aware or developing your opportunities and chances of awareness. And for that reason, it is not about a complete skill, or shall I use the word one-pointedness, ekagata in Pali, or even concentration as samadhi. We can do both. We can develop that as we meditate. But again, the focus on mindfulness is about being conscious or being aware what your mind is doing at the given moment. And I used the word channel last session, wherever your mind is, what sense channel is your mind is, you are aware and you are developing that awareness. So if you are seeing something, then we note it as obviously eye consciousness, so you are seeing, your mind is in the seeing channel. If you are hearing, then it is in the hearing channel, so ear consciousness. So your mind can be in 6 senses, 5 physical senses, and the mind is also taken as a sense. So if you're engaging or involving with your memories and thoughts, or involving with the emotions that arise within oneself, your mind is in the mind consciousness, mano vijnana in Pali. So being aware that at that moment it is the mind consciousness, so you are involving with your thoughts. So if your mind was distracted from your attention of breathing to maybe an emotion or thought, then we actually observe and note that mind is in the thinking or planning. So that is what we discussed last week. So today I want to share that let me introduce. We are trying to maybe break our habits, trying to disconnect ourselves from our habits. So what is this habit that I actually call now is the habit of having a preconceived idea when we see things or when we hear things. So it is this pre-notion that we actually need to break our habits of. It is this expectation or the knowledge that you have, which we might use to filter the information that comes to our senses. So this is what we are trying to say, break our habits. So how do we break our habits? It is about just developing the skill of bare attention. Just attention, just seeing. We don't see with a preconceived filtering mindset. So for example, when you meditate, when you close your eyes, your mind will engage with something. So your mind can get distracted. Now, shall I say itchiness, for example? So it's itching here, and what is the temptation? You may have a understanding, for example, why is my body itching now? So we will start off with a negative tone straight away. Pain. I'm meditating. Why is this pain coming? Maybe something wrong the way I'm sitting. So we start calculating things. So when the itchiness comes, we have the desperate need to want to go and itch, wherever it is itching, and it happens. So if we do it instantly, then that is the habit that we have, the itching. So we also might think, I'm trying to do meditation, but there's this itchiness, or you might think it's not a nice thing, you might want to get rid of it. Then you start off with a tone of anger again, or irritation. So you are seeing the itchiness with already a preconceived notion or preconceived idea. You are thinking that this should not exist and you want to get rid of it. or you are even thinking, oh, my hair or my head or my leg or my back is itching. So there is a bit of a already a preconceived idea that one, you want to get rid of it, and two, perhaps trying to say that it's not the good time for me to get distracted to itching. So you can see the mind is actually getting involved with so many thoughts, and before even you start reaching the point of itchiness, you have had a series of thought process which we may or may not be aware of. So itching. So are you itching with anger? Or are you just itching out of habit? But now you're putting your hands like this and you're meditating. What are you doing? What do you want to do? So you have this urge to itch, but now Bhante said, don't move. What do I do? So you are now looking at the itchiness with a bit of distaste or with dissatisfaction or a bit of anger. So sometimes you might even have a preconceived idea that, oh, if I just try to see this as impermanence, it will go away. Now you are not seeing the itchiness as it is, but you are seeing the itchiness thinking that it will go away. And then you're also now using the understanding of impermanence in a wrong way. So you are saying, if I say, oh, this is going to impermanence, I'm going to bear the pain, I'm going to bear the itchiness. And that is also perhaps wrong, because you are now seeing through the eyes of impermanence, but again you're trying to not see the nature of itchiness, but you are trying to see and apply impermanence to it in a different way. So actually what should happen is you need to see the arising of thoughts and the ceasing of thoughts, and arising of itchiness and the existence of itchiness if it is. So when it arises, so as soon as the itchiness arises, what happens is your mind is going from your breathing to that point straight away. You need to be aware of how this mind, so as soon as the itchiness arises, you can see the switching of the channel, and as soon as that is there, you are now getting involved with it. Getting involved with it is all these thoughts have come. So you are seeing that itchiness with your thoughts, with your ideas, before even you actually want to do something about it. So the purpose of mindfulness is to establish the mindfulness at points, if you want to use it at indexes, where it is happening at the given moment. So if your mind comes here, so we are now looking at itchiness. So we have to free ourselves from the preconceived ideas. We have to free ourselves. Or it's just something, or even it might be a fly, or it might be some sort of insect. All of these ideas are coming already into your mind. So we are now in the thinking. Now, if we don't realize that this is happening, we get involved with it more and more and more, forgetting that you have to apply your 3 R's: recognize, release, and return. So the moment we actually personalize that itchiness, saying, oh, my face, and you might start to get worried if it is an insect. Or if it is an insect, you feel the movement of the legs, and you obviously the worry starts coming there. Then you have to take a quick decision, obviously. But how are you seeing that itchiness is what you have to know, the way the mind is working. So we are actually reacting to itchiness. We are reacting to that itchiness rather than seeing the itchiness. So Sating Pachupada, so to establish mindfulness means about to actually see the itchiness and see how the mind is working. Is it bringing disappointment? Is it bringing worries, anger? Is it bringing some craving to start feeling relief by itching. So you don't like this itchiness, so you want the absence of itchiness, so you are craving for the absence of it. And all of these are the preconceived ideas that if you do it, it's going to happen. If you do it, the itchiness will go away. Or if you move, if you even scratch it, or it will go away. We have this preconceived idea and we start working on things. Similarly, when you're even in your day-to-day activities, you see things and you sometimes talk to a person with a preconceived idea. Before you even talk, before even the other person opens his or her mouth to say something, you already have an idea what this person is, or who this person is, what sort of person this is. And you have a defense mechanism, or being ready to actually, okay, if this person says this, I'm going to say this. So there's always this sort of planning coming. So we all have this contingency style of mindset working. Then we are working always. Then we work. Why do we work like that? We are working out of worries and fear. So worries will come. Worries make us do so many things, obviously, because we forget that the worry is actually taking place in your mind. So you don't know that worry is actually controlling you, and you start working things. So if this is plain water here, if I put a tea bag, if there's hot water, you can see the water coloring, and the tea bag contaminates the whole oil or germinates the mindset. So like that, the preconceived ideas always filter the information for us, or we use it to do that. So we have to think of like that, maybe in terms of maybe pain. Sometimes when you sit down, a slight, you might feel pins and needles, and then you will start personalizing the pain. You will start personalizing the pain. You will, I just sat down to meditate now, this pain is coming back, or what do I do with now? And we are always getting involved in a different way rather than seeing it as it is. So we are not seeing the pain as pain, but we are seeing the pain as this is the way it should be. We are seeing the itchiness, thinking this is the way it should be. So you already approach it with a negative or a different mindset. You sometimes approach with mindsets such as thinking, if I do this, this is going to happen, this will go away. Or even if you say, if you think that, if I try to just observe, keep on observing it, it will vanish away. Now that is also like a belief. If there is itchiness, and then Bhante said don't move, so you are looking at the itchiness, and then you will have an idea thinking, if I keep watching it, it will go away. Now that is also a possible filtering or belief that we might use, or an attitude that we might use to actually see things. So we are not seeing things as they are, but we are seeing things the way we want to see it. When you drink a cup of tea, do you already drink it with the taste in your mind? So you haven't even drunk the tea, but you already have a preconceived taste of tea and how it should be. So you don't taste the food as it is, but we taste the food with the attachment that we have to a particular taste. Whether it is pizza, whether it is the food that you cooked, we have a taste in the mind that we actually match it to. So if there is no mindfulness, you can see how we always see things and want things to be the way you want it. Fair enough, that is how we humans are, but the resulting issues is what we have to think about. Do you develop an irritated mindset, or do you develop an anxious mindset? Do you develop a worrying mindset, a fear in your mind? And therefore, as much as the tea bag is starting to now darken, having had it for like two minutes, we need to learn how to disconnect from it, means throw the tea bag away. Okay, so So we have to not use what we have like preconceived or prejudged ideas. So our judgmental values should always go away from our mind. It has to be clean or pure mindset rather than a judged opinion being used to identify or even notice what we are having. So when you notice hearing, for example, we're not going to say it is the sound of a bell, because then you are using the sound of bell to identify the sound. Yes, it is a sound, it's a hearing taking place. But what will happen is then you will also have the idea of bell coming to it and then compare the sounds of bells. And then what happens? You judge, you make a conclusive judgment. Oh, it's a nice sound, or it's a not nice sound. Similarly, what you see will always have an opinion. Oh, it's a nice flower or not nice flower. In terms of pain, we don't like it because we know what is a better one. Or we know the absence or the point of absence of pain or absence of itchiness. So therefore, the mind starts working very differently before even we try to react physically to something like itchiness. But the mind is very fast working. Mind works very fast on this tone. So how should we start sort of observing? Okay, so we need to think. We're not even using. We're not actually doing meditation to get rid of those things. Lots of people think, oh, if I meditate, this is what will happen. So they even start to meditate with a preconceived idea. So obviously lots of people might think it is a stress relief and this and that, that's fine. But when there are problems, say itchiness, when you work on the itchiness, it is not, you're not trying to get rid of the itchiness through meditation or the pain through meditation. You can't run away from the itchiness, it's there. When the itchiness takes place, as I said earlier, if you observe what happens to that moment, it more or less looks like you are trying to get rid of it. All the calculations, all the measurements taken, or even the anticipated result is all the calculative thinking that you do, trying to get rid of the itchiness. When it goes away, what is the response? Wow, it's gone. I've won. Or when it doesn't go away, you start getting more angry. So when the pins and needles, the same thing. Do you actually look at the pins and needles with anger, wanting it to get away from you, away from your body? Or do you actually see the pins and needles and then observe also how the mind is working? Because if the mind is actually accepting the pins and needles, sometimes half the game is won. So pins and needles will come for a while, and obviously some people might have an understanding that it will stay there for a while. So some people accept it and stay with it, which again you have to think, you actually not respond to it. So the response moment is what I'm focusing now. So we actually acknowledge the presence of it. So we notice, so that is recognize. And we leave it for a while. We come back, we let go, we don't get involved with it, we let go, we come back to our breathing. And when we come back to our breathing, sometimes if your mind gets distracted again with the pins and needles, then we again do the same thing, recognize, release, and return. Excuse me. And if it is obviously pins and needles, now it can actually be really, sometimes really distracting. So that means that object or that channel or that physical channel is quite strong, and therefore you can make that pins and needles a moment of focus for meditation. Now it is more stronger object than your breath. So you don't actually start moving your leg, but you make that pins and needles a point for meditation. So look at it. Observe that pins and needles, that pain. And as you observe, obviously, then we are looking at the established meditation on feelings, isn't it? So the physical feelings as well as the sensation. So you observe how the mind is also changing your nature or your ways of looking at the pins and needles. So study that. Be mindful of the way the mind is working as much as we are using the physical body and the sensation as point of meditation. So we are looking at the pain, and obviously if it is severe, so we note that it is severe at that moment, and then see the way perhaps how it might accelerate or just come down. Sometimes you can just completely not feel anything because of the numbness. Now, having said that, obviously you need to if it is too it's not an advice to bear every pain, because if the pain has subsidized, then that means the body may have stopped complaining. But if it is severe, then obviously you then note that you want to move. So you have the want to move, first notice, and then you slowly make that decision to move. So you notice that procedure, and as you move your leg a little bit, you might do this, you might just notice the movement, everything. And as you have been moving your leg for a while, so you must have, when you shift your leg a little bit, you can also notice the pain easing out, and be mindful of all of those. And when you have finished moving, be mindful that you have stopped moving. And when you have stopped moving, obviously notice the absence of pain or absence of the numbness, or even absence of itchiness if you have scratched it because it was too unbearable. So it is okay to move after a few steps, so that you can see, because the first few steps is to notice that whether it is just a complaining mind wanting to looking for attention. So when there is a little bit of itchiness or pain, pins and needles, it's just 10-15 minutes of sitting. And maybe sometimes people can bear with 10-15 minutes, because you might even sit down in front of telly for 3 hours not moving and just gluing your eyes to the TV like a statue. So that is, at that moment, is because your mind is completely glued with what is entertaining you. Whereas in meditation, when the mind actually when the mind is told to sit on this chair like a small infant child, the mind always wants to wander around and just get distracted. But when it is focused, the 3 hours sitting doesn't give you pins and needles, but that 20 minutes sitting will give you pins and needles. So it is how the mind actually gets hooked into things. Then there is nothing. Sometimes the mind can get engaged, so you don't feel certain things. Sometimes when the mind is very quiet and very focused, it starts seeing things as well. So the point today, what I tried to make was, when you have certain experiences in meditation while you meditate, perhaps like itchiness or a slight pain in the joints, for example, you might notice it, and it can get stronger and stronger when you try to resist or ignore it, and it wants to get your attention. So maybe don't move for the first moment straight away. If it is unbearable, we do have to move, because it might result in a physical pain in future. So we do have to move. But before we move, say for example, in terms of itchiness, how do you see the itchiness? What is that itchiness making your mind react, and how is it reacting? How does it want you to react? So are you looking in terms of with some ideas of preconceived judgmental ideas? Are you looking at itchiness, or are you looking at itchiness as itchiness? Okay, so there are two words which summarizes everything, which I will go in detail next session, next week. One is about sati, which is about the awareness. So you develop awareness, and when you develop awareness, then we use the word sampajanya. You know about it clearly. So you see the object not in your preconceived judgmental way, but sampajanya is you know what is happening, or what you know it as it is in its true sense. So itchiness was a very good example to think of. And how would you see itchiness? Do you see itchiness with your conceived ideas, or do you see itchiness as itchiness? So, and what does it generate? Does it generate anger or resistance, or does it generate that you want to get rid of it quickly? What is your physical reaction? What is your mental reaction? So mindfulness is about being mindful of those situations as well. Okay, so not just about breathing, or when it does wander on, note the change of the channel from breath to the itchiness. Because when you breathe, we don't like or dislike breath. But when you observe itchiness, what are your mental reaction to it? Do you like or dislike breath? Maybe not, but we breathe. Similarly, itchiness as an object of meditation, there's nothing to like or dislike itchiness. There's nothing to like or dislike in the headache, but see the headache as headache or itchiness as itchiness. And then obviously to do with if you have illness and stuff, it is to do with obviously taking the necessary precautions and medicine, but having a clean mindset, or in terms of a mindset, what is your mind doing at the given moment? That is what mindfulness is about. How is your mind reacting to that, whether it is 5 seconds or 1 minute of reaction? So Chittanupassana, or the noticing how the mind is functioning, is quite important in meditation as well. So I took an example of itchiness to explain to you that how do you approach itchiness when itchiness takes place in meditation? What happens to your mind? How are you looking or how are you looking at itchiness? Even if you look at itchiness with the idea that it'll go away if I ignore it, that is also a belief, or that is also a filter process that you have used. Even if you say look at it as impermanence, that is also a way that you have looked at it. So, but look at the itchiness in the true itchiness sense. Let it speak for itself. Let the flower speak the beauty, not your beauty, the way you like it, the way you see it. Beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but beauty should be in the object in itself as well. So with that, we will meditate for a few minutes. Okay, so sit straight. Okay, so adjust your body if you need so. Otherwise, put your right hand on the left palm and gently close your eyes. First of all, be mindful of your posture. So look at the way your body is posed. So the scanning of the body helps your mind to settle down quickly. So look at the body posture, straight, upright body. Bent at the hips and knees. Feet firm on the ground, or even your ankles touching the ground if you are sitting cross-legged. So once you have adjusted your position, the posture, so be determined you're not going to move. And just look at that body as a whole. Very quiet, peaceful. So be mindful of the absence of movement. And remember, you have also determined not to move, so be mindful of that whole posture the way it is. The active mind will always want and suggest things in the body, like moving or stretching, but be determined that you will make an effort not to move, but you will make that as opportunity for meditation object. So any object, any distraction is meditation object. So whether it is a thought or something, it is going to be meditation object. So now your body should stay like a statue, not move. So be mindful of that structure. So as you notice the absence of movement, it is also a reflection of the absence of restlessness. So the stillness should be the reflection of your mind as well. So bring your attention now to your breath. Remember, breath is not meditation, breathing is not meditation, it is just an object as much as a wandering mind or an angry mind or an itchiness is. So if your mind wanders, it's not to worry, but you have to remember to notice where your mind went, let it go and come back. Recognize, release, return. So watch that breath. So you are giving the mind a job to look at it. Just as a watcher or a security guard watching the door or gates, give the mind a job to do. Now your job is to watch the breath. So notice what's going through your nostrils and just see what's coming out. So breathing in, breathing out. You can take a whole journey to your lungs, because that helps us to look at the duration of the breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Remember, the breathing exercise was there even before the Buddha. But what we are doing is establishing mindfulness according to the way we need to see how mind deals and works with that breath. So we need to train our mind to see breath in a couple of ways. Breathing in, breathing out. When you breathe in, sometimes the body expands and you might feel a physical reaction as refreshing. So when you take a long breath, you might feel that. Should your mind feel that, notice refreshing. And when you breathe out, your body shrinks and relaxes. Breathing in, breathing out. If you're completely new, you can pinpoint 3 points in your in-breath and 3 points in your out-breath. So the start of the breathing, the continuity, and the end of breathing in. So in the breathing in, there are 3 points. So 1, 2, 3. And when you breathe out, immediately 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. And just watch that breath. Observe the duration of the breath. Long breath as long, short breath as short. Taking the breath as a whole, breathing in, breathing out. And just watch that breath. Don't judge the breath, but just watch as it is happening. should your mind be in a different object than breathing because it got distracted, always remember to come back as soon as you notice that. So whatever point of distraction you were, notice the last moment and then let it go. Come back to breathing and observe the breath. Recognize, release, return. thank you for joining us. The essence of today was whatever object your mind gets hold of whilst getting distracted, we do not involve our thoughts or our knowledge to judge or to see the object. So it is to see as it is, yatha bhuta, as it is, not the way you want to see the itchiness or the pain. So don't see the itchiness, for example, with anger or with irritation or with frustration. See the itchiness as it is, not with a contaminated mindset, not with a worried mindset or a frustrated mindset. Similarly, the things that we do every day or things that we encounter, try to then apply that as it is, as it happens. The conditions are different, so never use the preconceived opinion or even a preconceived memory or a scenario to judge something or to judge an incident. So as it is, not the way you want to see it. Okay, so that is the essence. So thank you for joining with us today. Do join us again if you wish to continue practicing next Thursday after our 7 o'clock Buddha Puja. Okay, so have a very restful and peaceful evening. Stay safe, take care, and good night.